I've never loved somebody as much as I love you.
That is a woman on national television saying out loud the thing every single person in a relationship has been afraid of at least once. If he can get up and leave, did he love me? No stagecraft, no influencer affect, just a plain sentence from a grown adult. That's our opening shot. Remember it. We are coming back to it because for the next 10 minutes, we are going to watch a major cable network do everything in its power to obscure that sentence.
Learning that past trauma of her, believe me, made me more regret right now. I mean, I had to learn this.
And that is her husband. Same franchise, same week of broadcast, saying he regrets marrying her. On camera, with 3 producers in the room. That is what you might call, in the industry, good television. It is also what you might call, in the part of us that is not currently paid by TLC, 2 adults having a very bad day being turned into a Tuesday night commercial block.
We lived in Tennessee, and we lived, surrounded by Amish communities. My parents grew this huge, love for the Amish. They adopted their lifestyle. They started to dress like them.
Let's get everyone up to speed. Shekinah Garner grew up Amish, as in literally traditional Amish community, raised off-grid. Left the community as a young adult, moved to Los Angeles, spent 23 years becoming a licensed aesthetician with the skincare business. Met Sarper Guven on a dating app. Sarper is a former boxer from Turkey. They did the other way. Season 5, Season 6, and Season 11, 3 separate times across multiple years, which means TLC kept re-upping this couple because they drive ratings and they argue on camera.
90-Day Fiancé. The Other Way has revealed how her boyfriend, Sarper Guven, exhibits controlling behavior and how she's also controlling him. Shekinah used to be very outgoing.
Here is the thing the franchise wants you to feel about Shekinah and Sarper. Unreliable narrators. Both of them. Sarper has controlling tendencies. There's a whole clip series about his rules for her social life. Shekinah has a contested past. A previous castmate, Amani DM, publicly accused her of having asked in DMs a question about another castmate's partner's gender identity. Those DMs leaked. Reddit decided within a week that Shekinah was the bad one. The algorithm did its thing. The YouTube comment section did its thing. The discourse calcified.
We now have receipts, literal DMs.
Now, here is where I want to be precise, because the rest of this essay only works if the next beat is handled with care. And I am not confident the franchise handled it with care. What happened is a castmate accused Shekinah privately of a specific thing. DMs got leaked. Shekinah responded. Amani doubled down. Shekinah denied. That, as a matter of fact, is the timeline. What happened on TV, in terms of how the franchise packaged it, is the story we are telling tonight. Because the franchise had 2 options. 1, treat it as off-camera drama that doesn't belong on a couple's travel show. 2, build the season promo around it. Guess which?
So remember last week, Ingy walked off camera and he said his little monologue, he said his little piece, and then he walked off and he never came back. And Sean confirmed that he's not going to come back. He's done. Honestly,
This is the pivot. For the first third of this episode, I have been talking about the couple. I am now going to stop talking about the couple. For the rest of the essay, I am talking about the network. Because the network is the one that made these choices and the network is the one accountable for them.
It's filler free except for my lips. We were all like,
let's talk about the commercial break tease. The Other Way airs in roughly 44-minute episodes with 6 ad breaks. Each break is preceded by a tease. a 5-second clip calculated to keep you through the commercials. When a producer is picking a tease, they are picking the most dramatic possible frame. For a normal fight episode, that's somebody throwing a drink. For an identity-adjacent episode, the dramatic frame choice is itself the editorial decision. And the teases TLC used, which I will not play here because I am not going to be the fourth step in a chain of reproductions of someone's private question being aired for ratings, leaned specifically on the accusation DM angle.
I never take a flower to a girl waiting in the airport and waiting for her to come out or something like that. Everything is so special for me.
That is the airport reunion, played originally as a Love Conquers All beat. Sarper flies in on a K1, Shekinah's waiting at arrivals, the cameras are rolling, the music is cued. If you watched that moment in isolation, you would think you were watching the conclusion of a successful season. You are not. You are watching the setup for the next season, because TLC does not end arcs. TLC extends them, and every reunion is the opening frame of the next divorce. Remember what the scene felt like while you were watching it. Now look at what the edit...
So sweet. Thank you, baby.
I finally found my love.
Aww.
I finally hugged my love. And kissed my love.
The second editorial choice is the season promo. When TLC cut the S11 sizzle reel, the trailer they ran before the season premiered, the moment they used as their climactic hook was not the reunion, not the conflict with Sarper. It was a manufactured cliffhanger implying a Shekinah versus Amani showdown was coming. They pre-sold a season on the back of a conflict that was ambiguous, personal, already litigated in DMs, and centered on another castmate's partner who did not themselves consent to being the subject of a reality show storyline at all. That is the editorial choice. That is the line. That is where a person sitting at a Steenbeck in Burbank said, yes,
He thinks these are the sacrifices one must make to maintain a healthy relationship. Controlling behavior isn't the only red flag in Shekinah and Sarper's relationship. The pair
And here is the part that escapes most of the commentary, and I want to say it as plainly as possible. A reality TV edit is not neutral. Every 10-second promo is a chosen 10 seconds. There are 18 cameras rolling on any given shooting day, 6+ hours of daily footage per subject, and a junior editor whose job is to flag what the executive producer will build the cheese around. The executive producer makes a call. The call is editorial. The call is where responsibility lives. In most reality TV production houses, there is an internal sensitivity review for storylines involving minors, protected classes, and identity categories. I am not going to guess whether such a review happened here. What I can tell you is what went on air. What went on air was an identity-adjacent storyline sold as hook content.
Never leave me. Huh?
Meanwhile, the Sarper storyline, which is by every objective metric the more televisionally loaded storyline of the season, gets cross-cut with the Amani storyline so that the audience stays confused about which conflict is the main event. Is this a couple in crisis? Is this a feud between castmates? The edit will not tell you. That is on purpose. Confused viewers watch longer. Confused viewers rewatch. Confused viewers post on Reddit. The incentive structure of the edit rewards ambiguity about which fight is the real fight. And it does that by refusing to let either fight grieve.
Name was original, Shekinah. Her photos, they were so...
And I want to be extremely specific about one detail that I think people have skipped past because it matters. The castmate whose partner became the target of the leaked DM storyline was a separate human being, not on the show's casting contract, not in a production agreement, not in a position to negotiate their framing with a premium cable legal team. That person was dragged into a national storyline by the accident of dating someone who signed a different contract. And when TLC used the tease, when TLC built a promo around the question, TLC was trading on the name of a person who had no seat at the table. That is not a Shekinah problem. That is not a Sarper problem. That is not an Amani problem. That is a production problem.
Five-person Amish family that lived with us in our house for years. And they taught us how to live and work and worship and, do everything like Amish. And so I like to kind of...
Which brings me to the thing nobody on Reddit is saying. Shekinah did not sign a contract that said your private DMs can be used as promotional material. She signed a contract that said you're on a couples travel show. There is a gap between those two contracts. That gap is functionally where the ethics of a reality network live or die. And I am here to tell you, in this jurisdiction, they did not live.
Line by continually bringing up his sexually active past during arguments. Surprisingly, Shekinah doesn't mind obeying Sarper's demands. Shekinah may think that Sarper's demands...
And the contract point matters because reality TV contracts are famously broad. They give the network the right to depict the subject as the network sees fit. They give the network control over music, voiceover, edit order, commercial placement, promo material, poster imagery, and title cards. They do not generally grant the subject review rights over their own promo. Shekinah could not realistically have picked up a phone, called TLC, and said, please do not use my DMs in the promo. The contract would have told her no. That is the asymmetry. That is the part of this arrangement that isn't funny. The subject shows up, signs the paperwork, and then finds out.
You dream about me too.
Shekinah is moving to Turkey in a few days, and oh my God, it's happening. I'm so happy.
Third editorial choice, and the one that I think is the most subtle, cross-cutting. When you take footage of Fight A and you intercut it with footage of Fight B, you are telling the viewer that Fight A and Fight B are connected, even if they are not. Even if the connection is an editorial fiction. The entire latter third of the Shekinah arc was cross-cut between the Sarper marital tension and the Amani accusation. Two storylines that, in reality, had very little causal relationship. One was a marriage, one was a side feud, were grafted into a single narrative by the structural choice of the cut. The viewer walked out of that season believing they were one story. They were not one story. They were made to look like one story. That is an editorial invention. And it is an invention that specifically suits the promotional needs of a network that wants to sell a season with a hook.
But as time went on, she became increasingly jealous and asked him to stop working with female clients. Despite frequent fights due to their controlling behaviors, the couple continues to stay together.
And Shekinah, the real Shekinah, not the edit Shekinah, has a business, a skincare business, based in Los Angeles, 23 years of licensed practice, actual clients, actual reviews, actual chemistry behind the eye cream. When she signed up for the show became inadvertently a marketing engine for her business. When the show, in its later seasons, pivoted her storyline to the DMs instead of the business, the marketing engine broke. The conflation, editorial by choice, hurt the business. That is a real material consequence. Nobody on Reddit talks about that. Reddit is too busy arguing about whether her face has filler. Now for the walk back. Because a lot of this gets thrown at the network, and I want to be fair to the fact that Shekinah is a public adult who agreed to be on a reality show. She is not an unwitting civilian. She knew what kind of show she was doing. She has an Instagram. She runs a skincare business. She benefits from the visibility. I am not pretending she is a martyr here. She isn't. Nobody on this show is. She chose visibility, and visibility comes with edges. That is a real thing. And I will cop to this. I am making a structural argument without having sat in the edit bay. I do not know for certain what was in the editor's notes. I do not know what the executive producer said in the preview meeting. I am reconstructing intent from outcome, which is the kind of epistemic move a careful journalist would flag in paragraph 3. So consider it flagged. But the outcome's the outcome. The tease aired, the promo aired, the season sold. And the question is whether a professional production house with a sensitivity desk, with a legal team, with a decade of experience packaging reality content, could have known this was a thorny storyline. The answer to that question is yes, obviously. Anybody who has ever worked in cable could have flagged it, which means somebody somewhere made the call to run it anyway. That is the call I am putting under a microscope. But the question is not whether she was visible. The question is what a network does with the visibility. Whether it uses the footage for the fight the couple signed up for, the Sarper fight, the turkey fight, the in-law fight, or whether it zooms past the married couple in crisis storyline to sell a season on an entirely different castmate's private question about a third castmate's partner's identity, which was never supposed to be a national story and is now forever a Google result. That is the editorial choice. That is the one TLC made, and it is not the choice I would defend.
Look on Corona's face. The faces that she made were hilarious. I mean, come on, let's admit that was all of us on our sofas, on our chairs, watching. When Shekinah said my entire face.
Here's the ramp. Shekinah is 40 plus. Sarper's 40 plus. They are married. They are still married. They live in America now, post K1. Whatever happens between them, whether they make it to year 10 or whether Sarper flies back to Istanbul next March, is a story about two adults who chose each other. The Amani story is a different story. The editorial choice to weld them together so the drama rating goes up by 12% is a story about a company. The franchise has been on air for 12 years. It has, over that time, done a lot of questionable things. It put a pregnant woman on a soundstage to reveal her baby's paternity. It built a spin-off around a couple in active couples therapy, and handed two brothers a pillow talk slot after they collectively torpedoed a marriage. It is structurally a content operation that monetizes private collapse. None of that is new. What is new is that in 2024, it reached for an identity-adjacent storyline, one involving a castmate's partner who was not a cast member, not a contract signer, not a consenting subject, and put it in the cheeser. That's the choice. That's the line. Reddit thinks the villain is Shekinah. Reddit thinks the villain is Sarper. Reddit thinks the villain is Amani. Reddit is wrong. The villain of this season is the person who picked the tease. If you made it this far, you either love me or you're looking for something to yell about in the comments. Either way, like, subscribe, and tell your sister.